The Alchemist by Ben Jonson. Characters, Summary and Analysis. Hello and welcome to the discourse. We are discussing the works of Ben Jonson, and today we will bring upon the discussion of the most successful and influential comedy by Ben Jonson. The Alchemist was first performed in 1610 and it was again revised during the Age of Restoration. Samuel Taylor Coleridge mentioned The Alchemist as one of the three most perfect plots of English literature. The other two works that Samuel Taylor Coleridge compared with The Alchemist were Sophocles' Oedipus Rex and Henry Fielding's Tom Jones. Let us first understand the title The Alchemist. Alchemy used to be a branch of studies during the 12th century in Europe, under which people used to study the patterns of astrology and natural science for the benefits of men. The main aim of alchemists used to find out ways of turning a base metal like iron, copper or lead into noble precious metals like gold or silver. So alchemy was more about materialism than spiritualism, and since it was an early science, or better say a pseudoscience, cunning people often tried to make profits through alchemy. Ben Jonson's comedy, The Alchemist, is also a story of three cunning people working as a team to fool and rob others. It is considered the best comedy of Ben Jonson, in which he cleverly maintained the three classical unities of time, place, and action, and depicted human follies and foibles funnily and entertainingly. Characters. The characters of The Alchemist can be divided into two groups. The first group is that of the swindlers, and the other group is that of victims of these swindlers. Lovewit is an English gentleman living in London who decides to leave his city house and go to a safer countryside home to avoid the plague that is spreading in London. He leaves his house under the custody of his butler, Jeremy. Jeremy changes his name to Captain Face or Captain Lungs from time to time. Since Jeremy is the sole controller of Lovewit's property, who is gone for long, he decides to make good use of it by appointing the help of his conman friend, Subtle, and a prostitute, Doll Common. So the group of swindlers include Jeremy or Captain Face or Captain Lungs, Subtle, and Doll Common, also known as Dorothy. The victims, whom this group of swindlers calls the Gulls, include Dapper, an extremely greedy legal clerk who is fond of gambling and wants an alchemist's help in ensuring his win in the gamble. Abel Drugger is another victim who is an honest man. He just opened a new shop of tobacco and wants the alchemist's help in deciding the best way to run his shop and ensure profit in business. Drugger is in love with a beautiful young widow, Dame Pliant, and he wants to marry her. Dame Pliant, as the name suggests, is a reclusive, pliable and flexible widow who is beautiful and can be easily controlled. She inherits the good fortune of her late husband, and hence everyone wants to marry her. Kestrel is his furious brother who lacks skill of fighting and quarreling. He seeks the alchemist's help in learning ways to quarrel. He is overprotective of her sister and is seeking a better suitor for his sister. Sir Epicure Mammon is a greedy and lustful knight who wants a philosopher's stone to turn his base metal into precious gold, and hence he seeks the help of the alchemist. Sir Pertinax Surly is an assistant to Mammon. He is a rather saner and learned man who continues to criticize Mammon for his follies. He doesn't believe in alchemy, and he doubts that Subtle and Face are swindlers. He truly falls in love with Dame Pliant but loses her as he finds himself quarreling with Kestrel. Ananias is a junior Anabaptist of Amsterdam who is very greedy for wealth and power. Tribulation Wholesome is the senior Anabaptist, and he is also hungry for wealth, power and leadership. Both Ananias and Tribulation want the philosopher's stone to attain more money and members for their church. Summary of The Alchemist. A wealthy English gentleman Lovewit leaves his big house in London to avoid the plague and goes to his country house while leaving his city house under the custody of his butler, Jeremy. Jeremy decides to use the house in making profits through cheating people with the help of his two friends, Subtle the conman and Doll the prostitute. Jeremy decides to change his name to Captain Face or Captain Lungs and fetch girls to meet Subtle, who is supposed to act as a doctor, a fortune teller, and an alchemist with magical knowledge and powers. While the three agree to work together, Subtle and Jeremy continue to argue about who is more important in their team and who should get the lion's share. The play begins with such a quarrel between Subtle and Jeremy, as Jeremy insists that he is the one who brings the girls to be fooled and robbed. Doll is worried that the loud quarrel between Subtle and Jeremy can be heard by others, and their plan may go awry. So she tries to bring peace and make Subtle and Jeremy shake hands. She promises that she will sleep with the lucky guy who will draw the biggest straw later that night. Right then, someone knocks on the door. Soon, Subtle takes the role of the doctor, while Jeremy becomes Captain Face and attends the visitor. The visitor is Dapper, a greedy legal clerk who came to meet the doctor to get some astrological help in ensuring his win at gamble. Subtle makes good use of his skills and make Dapper believe that a fairy queen has a good interest in him, and she will help him in winning gambling bids. But to ensure her help, Dapper will have to go through some strange rituals that may appear humiliating and debasing to him, and will have to please the fairy queen with some precious sacrifice. Dapper thinks over it and decides to come back again to go through the rituals, as he needs to ascertain fairy queen's help in winning a gamble. As Dapper goes away, another girl appears at the door of Captain Face. The next visitor is Abel Drugger. He has just opened a new shop for tobacco, and he pays Subtle to tell him the way to ensure good profits in his newly started venture. Subtle tells him some weird ways to attain success in his business. During their conversation, Drugger tells Captain Face and Subtle about a beautiful widow Dame Plant, who just arrived in London with her brother Castle. Drugger says that he hopes to marry Dame Plant. Face and Subtle gets greedy when they realize that Dame Plant inherits the good fortune of her late husband. They ask Drugger to bring Dame Plant and some good quality tobacco, as they can help him in marrying Dame Plant. Drugger agrees to do so. The next girl or victim is Sir Epicure Mammon, who is a greedy and lustful knight. Jeremy met him as Captain Lungs and made him believe that Subtle is a great alchemist who can produce a philosopher's stone in the lab, with the help of which Mammon can change his things of base metal to precious gold. Mammon wants this philosopher's stone that will make him extremely rich, highly intelligent, and irresistible to hot ladies. He comes to meet the doctor along with his assistant Sir Pertinax Surly. Surly chides Mammon to fall for alchemy, which is totally bogus. He decides to prove that Subtle and Captain Lungs are frauds. Mammon and Surly accidentally see Doll Common in the house. Mammon feels lust for Doll, while Surly doubts that she is a prostitute whom he already knows. Captain Lungs tells him that she is a noble woman, sister of a highly respectful knight who got ill and was sent to get the help of Dr. Subtle. Knowing that Doll is a mad noblewoman, Mammon becomes very lustful for her and wishes to sleep with her. He asks Lungs to let him sleep with Doll. Captain Lungs says that he will arrange for that on his next visit. Meanwhile, Subtle asks Mammon to bring all his metal belonging to him so that he may turn it into gold. The next girl is Ananias, who wants to have the Philosopher's Stone so that he may make money to increase the influence of his Anabaptist church. He pays some money to Subtle for the Philosopher's Stone, but Subtle asks him for more money, which he refuses to pay. Captain Face then makes him go away and bring his superior Anabaptist, Tribulation Wholesome, to make the deal. Meanwhile, Jeremy gets some metal goods from Mammon and he intends to be turned into gold. When Ananias returns with Tribulation, they agree to pay more in a way by buying some metal from Captain Face that can be turned into gold coins by Doctor. The metal actually belongs to Mammon. After some time, Drugger returns with tobacco to meet the doctor. He brings Kestrel along. Kestrel is a furious young lad who seeks the help of Subtle in learning ways to fight and quarrel to prove his manhood. Subtle teaches him some curse words. He informs that he is seeking a good suitor for his sister. Both Face and Subtle want to meet his hot young widow sister as she inherits a good fortune. Both of them wish to marry her. Kestrel is impressed by the short lesson of cursive words, useful in quarrels, and promises to return soon for further lessons. Meanwhile, Dapper returns to the house to go through the odd rituals to please Fairy Queen. Doll disguises herself as the Fairy Queen, while Dapper is blindfolded by Subtle. Subtle informs him that he should not try to see anything that happens with him, as it will anger the Fairy Queen. Then Doll and Subtle strip him off and take all his precious belongings away. Doll continues to pinch him and torture him in different ways while he is naked and blindfolded. At the same time, Mammon returns to the house to meet Lungs, who promised him to let him sleep with Doll, the mad noble lady. Captain Lungs then gags Dapper with sullied cloth and stashes him in the bathroom so that he may not make any noise. Doll is thus freed. She quickly changes her costume and seduces Mammon into the next room. Things become murkier as other girls also visit the house. Kestrel returns back to learn more skills of quarreling, and he brings his widow sister Dame Pliant, for whom he seeks a good suitor. Both Face and Subtle start arguing about who will seduce her, and at the same time, Sir Pertinax Surly also arrives in disguise of a Spanish nobleman who wants to sleep with Doll, the mad noble lady. Subtle and Jeremy think that since he is a Spanish, he cannot understand English, and they humiliate him and make fun of him in English, while believing that he cannot understand. He proposes to offer a huge amount if he gets to sleep with the mad noble lady Doll. Since Doll is busy with Mammon, she cannot be with Surly. However, Face takes money from Surly, and then he and Subtle decide to send Dame Pliant to meet Surly. Subtle tells Kestrel that a very good suitor for Dame Pliant has arrived, and she should meet him. Dame Pliant is not interested in meeting and marrying a Spanish guy, but Kestrel trusts Dr. Subtle too much, and he insists that Dame Pliant should meet the Spanish suitor. Meanwhile, Doll gets bored of acting half mad and wants to get rid of Mammon. Suddenly, a blast occurs at the house outside of the house, and Mammon is shocked by that blast. Captain Lungs then informs him that the blast occurred in the alchemy lab, as gods were angry that he fell for his lust and tried to sully a half-mad noble lady. Since the lab is destroyed, he cannot get the precious stone, and all his base metal was also destroyed during the blast. Mammon is disheartened as he lost everything for his lust. When Dame Pliant goes to meet the Spanish nobleman in the next room, Surly realizes that she is not Doll, whom he came to catch red-handed. He removes his disguise and reveals his true self to Dame Pliant. He tells her that Subtle and Jeremy are frauds and hopes that Dame Pliant will now see him favorably as he saved her from being swindled by the conman Alchemist. He confronts Jeremy and Subtle and threatens them with arrest. However, Jeremy and Subtle ask for help of their girls. Kestrel, Drugger and Ananias trust the doctor blindly and are sad to catch Surly, who runs away. Subtle tells Drugger to bring a Spanish costume if he wishes to marry Dame Pliant, but the Spanish costume was with Surly, so he goes to catch him. While things were appearing to return in control, Doll comes with news of the return of Lovewit. She informs Jeremy that his master is very angry as the neighbors have complained to him about the strange activities going on in his house during his absence. Lovewit reaches home and he reprimands Jeremy. He says that he ordered him to keep the house locked to avoid plague, but neighbors suggest that people came coming in and going out of his house regularly. Jeremy denies the accusation and says that he kept the house locked. But right then, drugger Ananias and Castile return and seek the doctor. Loud cries start coming from the bathroom where Dapper was stashed in a bundle. He chewed up the cloth to free his mouth. Lovewit checks the bathroom and frees him. Jeremy cannot deny the accusations now. He confesses everything to Lovewit and asks for his forgiveness. Lovewit meanwhile learns about Dame Plant and he is attracted towards her. He tells Jeremy that he will forgive him if he helps him in getting married to Dame Plant. Jeremy convinces Dame Plant to marry Lovewit and she agrees. When her furious brother Castile comes to know about it, he gets very angry but Lovewit wins his support too. Meanwhile, Jeremy visits Subtle and Doll and tells them that his master Lovewit has called the cops who will soon arrive to make arrests and they should run away to avoid arrest, of course without their share of the loot. Subtle and Doll are made to run away without any gain while Lovewit denies any information about the alchemist and rejects the pleas of victims who have to leave in their discomfiture. In the end, Lovewit gets all the metal of Mammon and the money the trio of swindlers robbed from the girls, and he also gets the beautiful wife Plant. He announces a handsome reward for his clever butler Jeremy and the play ends. Jeremy meets all the victims disguised as Captain Face except Mammon, to whom he disguises as Captain Lungs. So this is it all about the alchemist. As it can be seen, the victims of Subtle and Jeremy themselves are examples of human follies and foibles, which include a lustful knight, slave of his libidinous desires, corrupt Anabaptist, ready to use ill-gotten money for religious purposes, and a corrupt and greedy legal clerk involved in gambling. Drugger is the only victim who loses some of his precious tobacco and hopes to marry Dame Plant. So this is it for today. We have discussed all the major comedies of Ben Jonson. We will now discuss some of his masks before completing our discussion on Ben Jonson. Thanks and regards.